the service just stopped being fun for, like, I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to talk about it. I wanted to talk a little about why I'm getting out, or why I got out. We're, separated from active into reserves. And was I nervous? Yes and no. The Navy for me stopped being fun 2 weeks after I arrived in my first command. Everyone always wants to be like, it's 2 weeks, you didn't know anything. I knew a lot. Like, I didn't join when I was 18. I joined when I was 24. I'd already lived life. I had a place of my own. I was paying bills. Like, I was living life. And I tell people all the time that for me, boot camp, A school, and C school were the most amount of fun that I've had my whole entire career. People are always so flabbergasted, but for me, that's my truth. And I don't even know if I'm legally able to talk about everything that occurred as to why service just stopped being fun for, like, I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to talk about it, but it just wasn't fun. And I tried another command. I did the ship. I did the hospital command. It all sucked. My last command was honestly the best command that I have been at. And that's saying a lot. Please don't think like I hate the Navy, I hate the service. It's just me personally. This is my story, my experience. And I love when people are able to say, oh, the Navy was fantastic. The military was great. I can't sympathize. I can't. But I love and I'm happy for people when they can experience that, when they can share that. It just wasn't my experience. Ultimately, I'm getting out because I've had dreams and goals that I've always wanted to achieve. I've had dreams and goals that I've had ever since I was a little girl. Being active duty was hindering a lot of the things that I wanted to achieve. Somebody's going to jump in and be like, the military is a stepping stone. It's what you make it. I made it a lot of things. And it's still, and I'm a sunny side person. I'm always look on the bright side of things. I chose me over the mission. I chose me over the job. I chose me, and I'm okay with choosing me. And it never makes sense in the moment whenever I feel like, girl, it's time for you to go, or it's time for you to shift, or it's time for you to move. But it makes sense now. It 100% makes sense now. I still don't have 100% clear picture, but it was just time for me to go. And everything that I've wanted to achieve ever since I was little, as soon as I would try to start achieving those things, I would get deployed. As soon as I would start to try achieving those things, another investigation would happen. I have been through way too many investigations in my career for me to just be and it's never me. Please don't think everywhere this girl goes, trouble just follows her. I think it's everywhere I go, the Lord was trying to tell me this is not for you, so get out. But I was stubborn and I was like, I'm gonna stick it out. I stuck it out, and the things that I wanted to do, I could not necessarily achieve being active duty. And so I had to separate. And my intention was part ways with the service. I never wanted to remember my military career. I don't have that many pictures of me in uniform outside of my last year. And even then, it's me taking pictures of myself, sitting on the quarterdeck, because I wanted to document my last year in service. But I never wanted to remember any part of my service. I never wanted to remember any part of me being active duty. So when it came time for me to separate, I had told myself that I would be done. I would sever ties 100%. Never look back, because I never wanted to remember any parts of it. And life happens. And I decided, I transitioned into the reserves instead of transitioning completely out of the military. And that in itself was a feat for me to overcome, but it's better. It's definitely different from active duty, and I can appreciate that. I appreciate that everybody in the reserves understands that we have a life outside of that uniform. I appreciate that. So it's still growing on me. I'm learning to not be resistant to that growth as it's taking place, because I'm so used to doing things certain ways being active duty that when you come to the reserves, everything is so relaxed that it's that's not normal. And I have to put myself in the position, and I have put myself in the position of, I don't want no collaterals. I don't need no leadership. I just want to do my time and get on. So I'm working very hard to restrain my tongue, to just restrain my knowledge so that I don't get handed leadership positions that I do not want. That's such an odd statement to make, that you don't want a leadership position, but I don't. I know what comes with it. And especially being in the reserves, you're babysitting. Being leadership, active duty is different than being leadership in the reserves. Yes, you still have the same responsibilities of making sure that everyone is doing their trainings, everyone is up to date on whatever, But it's very different when everyone also works a job and everyone lives in different cities and different states, right? So you are rounding up chickens that can fly. You are rounding up chickens that can fly. I don't want that responsibility. I actually seen a chicken fly once. Every time I tell people, they're like, how drunk were you? I don't drink. I've seen a chicken fly. Me and my friend were in my car and I was driving. And I don't remember the conversation that we were having, but it was like something deep, right? We got somewhere and like literally this big chicken just like flew from electric wire thingy all the way across the street to the other side. And I looked at her and I was like, did you just see what I saw? And she's like, well, girl, you know, they say we in the end times. But anyways, I saw a chicken fly and I will stand on it and I will have her come and testify. All jokes aside, I don't want the responsibility of rounding up chickens that can fly. It's just a job that I don't want. So I'm doing my best to make the best out of being in the reserves. So far, so good. So what is the dream? I'm sure you're curious. What is the dream that I've always wanted to achieve? And that is real estate. Ever since I was a wee lass or a lassie. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved real estate. I remember we would drive past commercial buildings for sale and I would look at it and I would ask my dad, can we please buy it? And he would look at me and laugh and he's like, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know, start a business. You can open a whatever. We can do whatever. I would just give him a litany of ideas. As I went through college and all these things, it was a love that was still hard to get out of my heart. It was a love that was still hard to keep putting on the back burner. And that's the thing that hurt most about being active duty ever since 2012. I've avidly been watching the real estate market. So for me, it hurt every single time I would look at the market and I would see what it was doing. I'm like, but God, I can do that. But and literally I'd be like, but God, I can do that. I know I can. I would just see everything happening around me, right? Knowing, and I think that's one of the other parts about wanting to get out. Just knowing that I was meant for something else, or knowing that I was meant to do something else, but yet I was here doing this, or knowing that there are greater things out there for me to achieve that are being stifled or being pushed to the back because I'm doing this. And that's one of the things that made continuing to stay in hard, because I just knew that I was meant for something greater. And I just knew that I was meant for more. And I'm not knocking anybody who feels like the military is their life. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, for me, I just knew that there was more for me. And so my more, it's so much bigger than helping people buy or sell a house, right? And soon, those dreams will unfold. But for now, is just helping people buy a house. It's helping people sell a house. It's helping people invest in a house. It's helping people actualize a dream for themselves that they didn't think that they could have. And that is one of the biggest joys that I've had being in real estate, is I help people see they can afford something that they think they couldn't. Now, primarily right now, I work mainly with active duty and veterans and investors, but my services are open for everybody. 18 years and above, because you have to be able to legally sign that paperwork. My services are open for everybody. It's just, I had a special place in my heart for the military community, and I wanted to make sure that the military community was able to have a place to call home. We move around so much. Our lives change literally every few months, every few years, that I wanted to make sure that we got to use our VA benefits to its fullest extent. And I mean that when I say to its fullest extent, because all people think is, oh, I just buy a house with a VA and that's it. You can do so much more with your VA loan than just buy a house. Yes, essentially you are just buying a house, but I'm talking wealth building. You can build wealth using your VA loan. Another topic for another day, but I'm just saying. And I wanted my fellow service members and I wanted my fellow vets to realize they have something precious or something unique at their fingertips. And I wanted to help them actualize a dream of being a homeowner. I wanted them to have that sense of someplace that's theirs when everything around you is being controlled by somebody else, when everything around you literally change in 24 hours. I wanted them to have a place that they can say, that's mine. Not something that they're renting, not living in the barracks, not living in base housing, something that they could point to say that that was theirs. Because that's the feeling I had when I bought my first property. When I signed that paper, we walked through the house for my final walkthrough, and my realtor handed me my keys. After that man walked out that house or that condo, after he walked out, I started twirling. Like I started twirling, and I was like, this is mine. And like I had this like stupid schoolgirl look on my face, like, oh my goodness, this is mine. And that, like, I love seeing that on people's face. Like, and that's why I want to help active duty vets have that feeling. My goals are bigger than real estate. And it might not make sense to anybody, but it makes sense to me. Just, yeah. So that's the transition I made. I got out active duty, went into reserves, and doing real estate full time. I could talk more about my military service as much as I can. I could talk more about the reserves. You let me know. You let me know what you want to know. Because if you don't want to know, I ain't going to talk about it. So you let me know. What is it that you want me to? I know I was in the first one, I was like, we're going to talk about military, we're going to talk about real estate, we're going to talk about life, right? Why did I make my voice sound so deep? But you let me know. If you want me to touch more on military stuff, I will. If you want me to touch more reserves, I will, which is still military. If you want me to touch more on the real estate stuff, I will. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I want to finish this off by saying, and I know I already touched on it, but I'm going to touch on it again. Just because it didn't work out for me doesn't mean I hate the service. I don't hate the Navy. I don't hate the military. I don't hate the DOD. I just dislike what I had to personally go through. And just because I went through something, especially for those that are trying to join, just because I went through something does not mean that you're going to go through it. Every person's experience is different. And maybe I went through what I went through, maybe only for me to see that I was meant to do something else. Maybe that's the only reason why I went through the things that I went through. But this has been fun. But thank you for joining me. Until next time, it's Keziah.